The two language sections in CTET carry 15 marks for comprehension and 15 for pedagogy. Now, comprehension section is mostly intuitively done, a little bit of grammar is thrown in, but mostly the pedagogy section, which also is 15 out of those 30 marks, is often neglected. And if you master the pedagogy section, you can easily score 20 to 25 out of 30 in L1 and L2. In this video, I will be breaking down the pedagogy section of the language, how it differs from CDP, what are the key topics that you must focus on, and my secret tips to ace this part. So if you're serious about maximizing your score, then stay with me till the end. I am Dr. Swasti Dhar and I train teachers and trainee teachers to clear the CTET in their very first attempt through self-paced and hybrid courses. My courses include CDP, languages, that is English and Hindi, maths, EVS, social science, and math science for paper 2. They work best with the CTET Success Blueprint, which comes as a package, but CDP, language, and social science can also be bought as standalone courses. This is the final video of my series, Crack the CTET Language Section, and we are going to be looking into the most neglected part of CTET preparation, which is language pedagogy. Let's begin. So why is language pedagogy neglected? Most candidates skip this part totally. And there are, I think, two reasons for this. One is that they confuse it with CDP. And they feel that if I've studied for my CDP, which is Child Development and Pedagogy, then it is the same as the pedagogy of any other section that you take up, whether it's maths and EVS for paper 1 or the pedagogy of social science and math science for paper 2. Remember, every section has its own pedagogy and language too has its own pedagogy. So, pedagogy of a subject is not the same as CDP, although there is a lot of overlap. The second reason is the lack of study material. Now, most of the students who have not taken up English as their method or any of the languages as their method in B.Ed or D.Ed, I don't think has the method system, they will not have access to this material at all. So, if you are looking to go back and study from your B.Ed material, you will not get this because this is taught exclusively to those who are becoming language teachers. A part of it, a major part of it, is a part of the CTET syllabus also. That's why I always say student teachers always have it better because what they're studying in their B.Ed mostly, I'm not sure so much about the D.Ed, how much it is overlapping with CTET, but most of what they have studied in B.Ed also gets repeated out here. So lack of study resources and also the fact that you may have never heard of language pedagogy. So here's the good news. If you understand the pedagogy of language teaching, you can easily up your score by 10 to 12 marks per section of language. So if you were scoring say around 15, 16 in language with pedagogy mastered, you can easily get a score of 20, 25. That's the power of pedagogy. CTET does not differentiate between the pedagogy of L1 and L2. In fact, the pedagogy syllabus for all the languages is exactly the same. And let me show it to you from the CTET information bulletin. So you can see the information bulletin from CTET December 2024. And here we have language 1 and the pedagogy, learning and acquisition, principles of language teaching, role of listening and speaking. And let's move on to language 2 out here. And you'll see the pedagogy says the same thing, learning and acquisition, principles of language teaching, role of listening and speaking. And if you take the last one, which is remedial teaching out here also and remedial teaching out here also. So the key takeaway is that the pedagogy for L1 and L2 is the same. Second, there's a lot of focus on language skills, which is LSRW or listening, speaking, reading and writing. So I've put it up out here. The main topics which you have seen there are learning and acquisition, principles of language teaching, role of listening and speaking, function of language, critical perspectives on the role of grammar in communication, challenges of teaching in a diverse classroom. This is a part of your inclusive education, language skills, which is LSRW, evaluation of language proficiency. How do we evaluate that a child has learned listening, speaking, reading, writing, or grammar and vocabulary? Teaching learning materials, which is your textbook and multimedia, and remedial teaching. So the key takeaway is that the content area of pedagogy for L1 and L2 is the same. There's a lot of focus on language skills, your LSRW, evaluation of those skills on grammar, on comprehension, how do we evaluate that? One topic which is not mentioned out here but is asked so many times, it is kind of included in the history of language skills. It is the approaches. How do we teach a language? The grammar translation method or the communicative approach, all these become very, very important when we are looking at grammar. So what are the most important topics that you should be doing? Here's where the most important questions are asked from. Learning and acquisition. Taken from Stephen Krashen's theory, understanding the difference between language learning and language acquisition, which is our first language, which is our second language, what is the difference between learning and acquisition. Many questions are asked. This question is asked almost every year. Your approaches, methods, strategies, and techniques of language learning, 3 to 4 marks every year. This is a very, very key topic. Language skills, LSRW, the teaching part of it and the evaluation of it. Language difficulties and disorders. So CDP, you will be doing your dyscalculia, dysgraphia. But in language difficulties, questions are generally asked about dysphasia or even dyslexia. So a little extra knowledge is needed out here. Should know about multilingualism and NAP's perspective on multilingualism, inclusion, and language educational policies and how it affects language teaching. So you may not see it in the syllabus, but 2 to 3 questions are always asked from the NCF 2005 and the NAP 2020 now. So as you have made out, language pedagogy is not about memorizing concepts. It requires clarity, it requires knowledge, and it requires a teacher who truly understands language teaching. With 12 years of experience as a language method master, as an English method master in a B.Ed college in Mumbai, I have created the CTET Language Success Blueprint, which simplifies this subject step by step. Another unique asset in my course, which I have created and I'm very, very happy about it, is the Hindi Vocabulary Pedagogy Set. It is a PDF of 75 plus words of Hindi specific to the pedagogy. These are those words which are used by the CTET, and it translates the English equivalent to its Hindi. Those words which you will see in the exam paper. Many candidates struggle with L2 because of their vocabulary. They are not able to understand the correct vocabulary and are not able to comprehend the question once they read it. So reading is not the issue, comprehension is. And that is where the Hindi PDF really helps. So the key takeaways: don't neglect this 30 marks, 15 plus 15 marks, which comes in your language section. You must understand the difference between CDP and the pedagogy of teaching a language. Should focus on core topics like teaching methods, language skills, and multilingualism. You should use resources like the Hindi pedagogy vocabulary so that there is better retention, and get a mentor who simplifies this process for you. So this wraps up my 5 video series on the topic cracking the CTET language section. If this video was helpful for you, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more in-depth CTET preparation videos. Share it with a friend. You can also join my WhatsApp group called the CTET Preparation Group. The link will be in the description, where I interact with you personally. You can follow me on Instagram with the name Learn with Swasti, and you can explore my courses on my website www.lwsctet.com. All the links will be in the description below. Remember, language pedagogy doesn't have to be overwhelming. With the right strategy, you can crack this section with confidence. Let me know in the comments what helped you the most in this video and in the series. I look forward to that. Happy learning and all the best.